Good morning, Kings. My name is James Reeves, and you're watching TFBTV. Quick intro before we get right into the substance of this video. You guys remember over the summer, I went to Battle of the Bills. It's an event put on by Surefire. We did some training, small group training with Bill Rapier and Bill Blowers, two excellent instructors. Bill Rapier is going to be featured in today's video. He's also the guy who did the How to Stop a Carjacking video that we put together a few months back. Bill's an ex-Navy SEAL, the owner of AmTac Shooting and AmTac Blades. This guy knows his stuff. So when he starts talking about fundamentals, I'm like, ugh, gosh, snooze fest, more fundamentals. Boy, was I wrong. And I really wanted to share this video with you guys, even though it's about fundamentals. Don't get me wrong, the mechanics are great, but it's really Bill's philosophy for why he does what he does that makes this an excellent video. So guys, check out the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And if enough of you watch it, enough of you like it, enough of you leave positive comments about this video, then we're going to do a part 2 that's going to be more in depth. Check it out.
So when I first started doing this, one of my buddies, who's a cop up in the Boston area, real good shooter, he's like, Bill, don't say that you're doing pistol fundamentals because like everyone thinks they know how to do pistol fundamentals. And we're doing pistol fundamentals first. And here's why. There's no secret sauce when it comes to shooting well. Like it's merely being able to do the fundamentals at an unconscious competence level. Right? So when we all start off, we are at unconscious incompetence, right? We don't know what we don't know. And then you train a little bit and you're like, wow, there's this whole world out here of training and I don't know jack. And then we continue and we keep training, and now it's like, okay, dig in with my toes, focus on the front side, squeeze, bang, wow, it worked, right? That's a conscious competence level. And where we all want to get to is unconscious competence or subconscious competence, where the conscious decision that is made is that needs to be shot. And then everything else happens without me having to think about it. And that just comes by mastering the fundamentals. This is your system. The way you carry your guns, the way you train, the ammo you carry, every part of the gear that you carry and the training that you do is part of your system. I think I have the best system in the world. And that's not to be arrogant or anything like that. Everyone should think they have the best system out there. Otherwise, why are you doing this? If you're like, well, it's okay, but this other guy's stuff is better. Well, go train with the guy that thinks his stuff is better. So you should be confident that your system is the best, but then also you should be humble enough to where it's an open system. From time to time, like a student will show me something or say, hey man, why don't you do it this way? And I'll look at it. If it's better, guess what? Thank you. It is mine now. I'll give you credit for it forever, but it is now my system because it's better. Down here. Go. I promise you, you will be more dangerous at the end of today. Circle awareness is, in part, it's a loading procedure, making sure that we load our tools the same way every time. And in part, it's just an awareness of, okay, how, are all of my tools still on me, right? So me just coming in here and doing this is part of circle awareness, right? So what I'm doing when I come here is I'm making sure that my retention is good on my pistol, my retention is good on my blade. This term circle awareness I took from skydiving, right? When you're falling belly to earth like this, about 120 miles an hour, you're constantly doing a circle of awareness, right? You're looking for other jumpers around you, you're looking at your altimeter, you're looking at all your handles, you're looking for jumpers below you, and then you repeat. Because if you don't repeat, either at 1,800 feet your Cypress fires, or if you're too cheap to have a Cypress, 1,800 feet after that, you make a very unremarkable divot in the ground. And that's it. So as I started thinking about, hey, what's the most important thing to teach? Well, it's actually to make sure that your gun goes bang when you want it to go bang. Seat tug on the magazine. Guys, every mag change that I do now, other than two-handed pistol combat reload, or emergency reload, same thing, I seat and tug on it. Because it is such a common cause of failures. I have failed at this multiple times when I'm like down here, strong hand only. I seat, rack, come up, bang, magazine falls out. I'm like, okay, that happens to you enough, you're like, yeah, we're gonna build in seat and tug on everything other than two-handed pistol combat reload. So, seat tug on the magazine. Next, I go tip on, right? So I will say tip on, or muzzle on. Tip on comes from Sac Collie, where if you're doing blade stuff and I'm pointing my blade at you and you charge me, you get stabbed, right? So it's one of those, if I do my last manipulation with my pistol and it's still pointing at the sky, I have one more thing that I have to do before I can get shots off. So if I can come here, seat, roll, and start shooting, and I'm already tip on, I've saved myself one beat. One last thing on this, notice where my arms are. I'm in a framed position right here. So guys are crashing into me, like I'm not gonna get my structure broken down like this. So, almost always, there's gonna be round in the chamber, but again, not good enough if it is my life or my family's life on the line. Then I let go, I give it a forward assist tap on, sometimes as our Glocks wear out, they don't go back into battery when they're not lubed up properly. Sometimes they won't go back into battery. And then if you're shooting something other than a Glock, some of the other pistols just hardly ever go back into battery. So building this in where you give it a forward assist tap, why not? Again, like I want my system to work across the board. I want to pick up any pistol and make it work right. Then I turn it over and I give it one more tug. Why? Because guys forget to do the tug, right? And this is the beginning of the day. Like I have time and opportunity to go through my whole circle of awareness like this. Then I'm going to present and make sure that my dot is adjusted for the ambient conditions, right? As it gets brighter, the dot goes up. As you go internal, you might crank it down. If you've been outside for a while and now it's, 3 hours of staring at this building and now it's time to go in, you might consider cranking it down 2 or 3 levels before you make entry, so that you don't present initially and you're washed out. So after I do this, then I'm going to check and make sure my light and laser are working, because this is part of my weapon system. I need to make sure that the whole thing works. One more time, frame weapon in your workspace, seat tug on the magazine, roll into this tip on right here, push pull, let go, bring it back into your workspace, chamber check, forward assist tap, turn the gun over, give it one more tug, present, make sure that our dot is functioning properly and that our light, laser, whatever we're running right there is going to work. I recommend that you do circle of awareness like from now until you die. I say that in life, I'm hyper vigilant. I'm not paranoid. When it comes to having a dead man's gun, I'm freaking paranoid, because it's a massive fail if it doesn't, if gun goes click instead of bang. We want to be as high up as possible when we're doing that. So this is what we're doing with our strong hand. Over gripping it like this, you have better leverage on the gun, right? You're high, you're closer to the bore. You just have more leverage on it. The gun doesn't move as much. If my hand is down here, as recoil cycle happens, it moves more. So number one reason why we grab high is so that we can shoot faster. The faster I can shoot, if I can send, 0.2s or 2.5 splits at the dude that's charging me, and I send 3 into his chest and I have no effect, I still have time to put one into his head and then move on to the next guy. If it takes me, 0.75 in between each, like I might only be 2 shots into it when he's on me, right? So being able to shoot fast and accurately is very important. The higher up I grab, the more it allows me to manage this thing. So that's the number one reason. Number two reason is I can smash better with it, right? If you and I, again, are gonna get in the fight of our lives and this is a expensive club, do you want me holding the pistol here or here? Yeah, you twist the thing out of my hand way better like that, or you're gonna try to anyways. You are a left-handed shooter and your group is predominantly going a little bit right. That is classic, what we call Three Amigos. So, ear pro on the ground. I go to pick it up. I did not have to tell myself, go ahead and engage all 4 fingers and thumb to do that, right? I just do that because that's how God made me, right? All this stuff works. And that's good for most of life, right? You come in, you're fighting, you're grabbing a donut, whatever it is, like this is useful. It becomes a little bit of a problem when you're trying to, however, isolate this finger from these fingers. So Three Amigos is something, it's easy to remember. It's something we've been using for a long time. Basically, these guys are the amigos, or for the non-bilingual friends of the trigger finger. And they think their job is to help the trigger finger squeeze the gun better, but really they're screwing them over. So as a left-handed shooter, your Three Amigos problem is going to put your rounds to the right. As right-handed shooters, to the left. Guys will do this super consistently, like to the point where guys will slip their sights because of this. It's a horrible idea to slip your sights based off of Three Amigos pressure, because it changes from day to day, and it will also change from distance, right? If you have this much pressure from 7 yards and then you move to 10 yards, it's not going to be the same. The way you fix it is just by dry firing, right? Getting on that, and the dot guns are perfect platforms for dry firing, because you'll think you have a good dry fire, and then you dry fire with a dot gun. You'll just see, man, there's just so much going on right there. So yeah, that's how we will fix that. Okay, so with my other strong hand, first off, we need to build this off of our draw stroke. The majority of the time we're pulling pistols out, it's off of a draw stroke. So for my draw stroke, I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the pistol right here. Then I have to have a touch point. I have a little bit of a different grip on my pistol than most people do. I like to come as high up as possible. If I don't have a light or anything on there, I actually hook the trigger guard with my other strong side index finger. Like this, I just put it underneath like that. And then I'm right in here. If you shoot normally, it's right here is your touch point. It's basically in between that knuckle that you punch with and the first articulation. You're trying to hit that right underneath the trigger guard. I'm doing that once the gun is past me. If I try and do it out here, there's potential for me to sweep myself. So I'm all the way in here when I do this. Gun comes up, and then this hand races to hit this touch point. Once I've hit the touch point, these fingers anchor on my knuckles. And then as I continue to present, I try not to let these fingers move at all. Guys, this is completely different from how I learned how to build my grip, right? I learned how to build the grip. You come in here, you fill in the gap, you wrap your fingers around. And I know and respect dudes that still build their grips that way and they shoot very well. I had a hard time with that. Like my grip fell apart a lot sooner. Since I've started doing, and especially this right here, where I'm anchoring these guys in and then presenting, and I try as hard as I can not to let those fingers move at all. So now what's happening is, as this goes forward, it's like a vice clamping everything. And imagine if you had a pin that connected this, as you push it forward, like there's no place else for it to go. So that's what I'm trying to do, is crush this in. I'm thinking about driving a little bit with my thumb right here and pushing in with my middle finger. Or if you shoot normally, it'll be pushing in with your index finger right here. That motion seems to have a canceling effect on Three Amigos pressure. So again, I'm up here, I hit the touch point, I don't let my fingers move, and then as I present, everything gets crushed like that. Eyes and ears, everyone. Anyone else? No? Figure out. Secondary scans. Stand up, relax. Back down, good aggressive fighting stance. Present. Anyone else? No? And so on. The way I was taught to shoot is that we pull the trigger with the middle part of the last pad, right here. That stems from very, very old school, beginning of Army marksmanship, 1903 Springfield. You grab that rifle properly, that's where the trigger ends up. If we fast forward a few years to an M1 Grand, grab that rifle properly, that's where it ends up. Fast forward a few more years, M14, same thing. Fast forward a few more years, AR series, completely different. Everyone wants to shoot an AR the same way. And then guys want to apply rifle fundamentals to the pistol. Most shooting fundamentals cross over, but this is one that does not necessarily, it does not need to cross over into pistol craft. So, if I'm shooting like this, number one, this is a fighting tool, right? This is like or at least my paradigm of how I'm going to use this. This is me to you distances or closer, and like At some point, it may turn into a club, which means I need to be able to strike with it. I need to be able to rack, you know, off of different places. I need to be able to hang on to this thing. So if me shooting like this causes me for a weaker grip, like that's a problem for me. So what we said for a long time is just, hey, establish your good solid master grip, stick your finger all the way in there, and what you got is what you got. And then I got a Glock 43. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, man, this is a hard pistol to shoot accurately. I start playing with it, and I start playing with position of finger on trigger because I'm like, man, I gotta figure something out because this thing's a little bit harder to shoot. And I found on a 43, me pulling the trigger right with this center portion right here, you know, with that actual joint, like I got a little bit better accuracy with it. So I applied that to a full-size pistol and was getting a little bit better accuracy with it. So now what I try and tell guys is, number one, most important thing is that you have a good solid master grip. Where you pull the trigger with is completely secondary to having a good master grip, because we don't, like, keeping the gun is more important than pulling the trigger in a way that is 5% more efficient. But then within that, somewhere in here, you can play with it and be deliberate about it. See, okay, where if I'm out here a little bit more, like how does that look on my trigger squeeze? If I push it all the way in, squeeze, 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 how does that look on there, right? So constantly, you can play with it a little bit and see. We're gonna frame the weapon in our workspace. There's a lot of, hey, this is workspace right here. This is fine if you're shooting a match. But if I am in the middle of shooting at someone, and now my pistol says no for whatever reason, and I come to here and I have to look at it, I'm looking at the dirt 2 yards in front of me. So where I try and be is where I'm looking through my trigger guard at where my threat is. That way I can be looking at my pistol and still tracking on where my threat is through my periphery. So that's the number one reason why I frame up here. Number two reason I frame up there is this is not a bad place to start a fight from. If you and I are gonna, we're gonna fight to the death, and I have a expensive club in my hand. Do you want me to start here, looking at my gun, yes, or do you want me to start here?
I want you to start.
100%, 100%. Right? So that's another overarching concept. If there's two ways of doing things, and they are both equally effective, or within like a point or two of effectiveness, I'm always gonna choose the one that is more combative. Always ask, okay, if I get in the fight of my life and this is a club, or this is like a quasi short spear, am I standing in such a way that maximizes my ability to fight? So that is why we frame right in here. This angle, guys, is gonna be another overarching concept, halfway between full extension and full flexion. You can drive through people like this. It's where we are strongest, right? When I'm at full extension, this is where I get armbarred, right? When I'm at full flexion, this is when you get pushed back right here. So right in the middle right here is where we can crush people with this angle right here. So that's the angle that I want my arm to be at while I'm doing this manipulation. Failure in training, if it causes a change in behavior, is a good thing, right? I know I've failed before on things on the range and looked at it and gone, okay, I failed because of this. This is something that's important to me. I'm going to modify. I'm going to change what I'm doing, and you end up coming out stronger.